Hey fam, Master Coach G here, thriving after 50, mind, body, soul. And in this episode, we are uncovering what causes inflammation in our bodies. I know sometimes, we have this swelling. We don't really know what it is. It's like, you wake up and your hands are, a little bit tight, or your ankles or things of that nature. So we are going to uncover what causes inflammation. It can be a number of things, whether it's infection or injury, chronic stress, environmental toxins, poor diet, lack of exercise. We're going to talk about all that. So want to not only talk about it, what causes it, but to also give you some remedies, things that will help you to manage the inflammation in your body, if you will, and maybe even eliminate it through diet, hydration, and exercise. So this is Master Coach G, and I will see you on the inside. Hey fam, Master Coach G here, thriving after 50, mind, body, soul. And in this episode, we are uncovering what causes inflammation in our body. Okay, sometimes we have inflammation and we're not sure why. We don't know where it's coming from. So I want to talk about that because I think that, we need to know what's causing it so that we can, focus on that part of it. Which is repairing, restoring, and replacing whatever it is that needs to be done in order to identify the inflammation, where it's coming from, and what we can do to manage that. So inflammation is our body's natural response to an injury or an infection. Okay, anything that's harmful to our person, sometimes we'll have that inflammation, but it's also a part of our immune system defense mechanism. So when it shows up, that means that our body is basically, our immune system is protecting our body from the injury or the infection. Okay, so if it's an infection, it could be bacteria, virus, fungi, even a parasite can trigger inflammation. But our immune system works to eliminate the threat. That's why it's so important to have a strong immune system, because there's things that our immune system fights off and we are not even aware of it. Our immune system is fighting for us even when we don't know it and we don't recognize that it is. We may not even feel anything, but our immune system knows. It's just like if your check engine light comes on in your car, you automatically know something is wrong. And that's how inflammation is. When it shows up, you need to know that it's something that's going on, and you need to be able to identify what that is. So if it's an injury, whether it's a cut or burn or any type of trauma that leads to localized inflammation. Okay, so you need to pay attention to that. So let's say if you injure your knee, you may have swelling. Okay, that's a trauma that can lead to localized inflammation. So which is a good thing, because at least you know what the problem is. You've identified that. Here's another thing too, which is chronic stress. Prolonged stress increases our cortisol levels, which trigger low-grade persistent inflammation. Yes, chronic stress can lead to inflammation in your body. Isn't that amazing how our bodies can do that? That's why we have to be really careful with our stress levels and make sure that we're doing everything that we can to keep our stress levels down. We need to keep them at a low grade versus high, okay? An autoimmune system disorder. I have a dear friend of mine, Dr. T. She has an autoimmune system disorder. So what comes with that is it's a condition that could be like rheumatoid arthritis or lupus or anything to do with your immune system. It mistakenly attacks your cells. That's what that disorder is. So yes, you may have some swelling from that. People who have rheumatoid arthritis, if you look at their hands or their ankles or their feet, you can see it looks like a deformity. Where it looks like their hands are just all crippled up, so, and swollen, like their knuckles will get real swollen too. Okay. Here's another thing that we need to be aware of, which is toxic environments. Okay. Because exposure to pollutants, chemicals, anything that your body is allergic to can cause, an inflammation response. Okay, so if you are exposed to, so let's say you're cleaning your house, you're doing house cleaning, and you're using like, Clorox 2 or, tub and towel or whatever that stuff is. I don't use any of those chemicals because, everything here is holistic, toxic free, but there was a time when I did use those products, bleach and all that stuff. But you can actually have a response to those chemicals, an allergen, if you will, to those chemicals, and it can cause inflammation. So yes, an environmental toxins can expose you to inflammation as well. Now here's another thing that most people, I'm not saying everyone, but most people have, they have this problem because, and this does cause inflammation, a poor diet. Yes, a poor diet can cause inflammation. High intake of processed food, sugar, trans fat, can promote inflammation. Even salt. I don't know if you ever noticed that if you eat a lot of salt, that you will find out that like in the mornings when you wake up, your hands will be tight. They'll be swollen. You have that inflammation, or even around your ankles because you've consumed too much either sugar, processed food, trans fat, or salt. I personally use the pink Himalayan salt. Same flavor. You just don't have all the iodine in it. So that's personally what I use. Now, here's another thing that most people don't do, which is lack of exercise, okay? Most people have a stationary lifestyle, and that increases the, you make room for inflammation because you're not moving around. Our bodies were made for movement. Okay, so being stationary, sitting at your desk all day, not getting up, walking around, I don't care if it's just 30 minutes, anybody can walk 30 minutes today. Just walk outside the door, walk in any direction for 15 minutes and come back and you just walk 30 minutes. Our bodies was created to move. If it just keeps being in the stationary position and being settled in that place, yes, inflammation can set in. So you want to make sure that you are staying active and moving around, getting some form of exercise every day. Obesity is another thing. Excess fat tissue, particularly around the abdomen, it releases inflammational chemicals. Inflammatory chemicals are released in our bodies when we're obese, especially around the abdomen area. So we want to be careful and make sure that we are keeping an eye on our midsection, because a lot of things, that's where our gut is, and our gut is our brain to our health. So we have to definitely keep an eye on that, okay? Smoking and alcohol. Both of these things introduce toxins into our body, okay? And it can cause chronic inflammation. Yep. Alcohol and smoking, because we are taking in something that our bodies are not used to having. It's like smoking and alcohol is not something that, that we should be consuming on a regular basis, only because of the effect of it. And it can also cause chronic inflammation, okay? Of course, chronic disease conditions like diabetes, heart disease, gum disease, kidney disease, things of that nature is definitely tied to an ongoing inflammation. Okay, my mom has she has congested heart failure, and it's not just congested heart failure. She also has kidney disorder. Her kidneys are they're not functioning at the rate that they should. So of course, having that, she does have swelling. So we have to keep an eye on that. So that inflammation can come and starts creating problems. So yes, chronic diseases can cause inflammation in your body. So let's talk about how to effectively reduce inflammation. Okay, I want to spend the next few minutes talking about how to effectively reduce inflammation in our body. So we need to focus on some key strategies, okay, like anti-inflammatory diet, okay, because a lot of what we eat causes inflammation in our bodies, okay. You have to limit your processed food, okay. And you have to prioritize your whole foods, like the vegetables, the fruit, the berries, the green leafy foods, the whole grains. You have to prioritize those things which are anti-inflammatory medicine, if you will. Vegetables, fruits, berries, green leafy and whole grains are healthy for reducing inflammation in our bodies. You have to eliminate the processed food. You have to eliminate the trans fat. You have to eliminate those things in order to to reduce the inflammation. We have to focus on those things. We have to include healthy fats, like avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil, omega-3 fatty acids that come from like fish, salmon, sardines. I'm not a sardine fan, but sardines definitely are especially powerful. So we have to definitely look at what we're eating so that we can reduce the inflammation. We have to, and you can also add anti-inflammatory spices like turmeric, ginger, and garlic. Garlic is always like a go-to thing. You can always go to garlic for, lowering your blood pressure, lowering your cholesterol, and it is also good for anti-inflammatory. Okay, limit your sugar intake. Refined carbs, processed food, those things make your blood sugar spike, which promotes inflammation. So limit your sugar intake, the refined carbs and the processed food, so that you won't promote inflammation, okay? Regular exercise, I mentioned it earlier, and it's definitely one of the pillars that I always talk about. And like I always say, you will never, ever, ever, ever be able to get away from those 4 pillars. And we're going to talk about a few other ones in this podcast, because those 4 pillars are the key to our wellness, okay? Regular exercise, consistent moderate exercise like walking, yoga, swimming. It helps to lower things that are the maker of inflammatory things like the food that we eat. Okay, but if we aim for at least 30 minutes a day, I mentioned that earlier, get out, walk outside the door, walk 15 minutes in any direction and come back, and you've just walked 30 minutes. If you can do that every day, it will definitely help you to be able to reduce your risk of inflammation in your body. Stress management is another thing. I mentioned that earlier. Chronic stress triggers inflammation. I'm going to let that sit in for a minute. Chronic stress triggers inflammation. Okay? So what you want to do is you want to try techniques like meditation, deep breathing, nature walks, to significantly reduce your stress. And of course, praying is always number 1 on the list, but I know everyone may not be spiritual, but number 1 for most of us is the prayer, and then of course the meditation, the deep breathing. Those things are always good for us because it helps to reduce our stress levels. So remember that chronic stress can trigger inflammation. So if you're going to the doctor and you say, my ankles are swollen, they've been swollen for weeks, the doctor's not going to ask you about your stress level. So I'm letting you know that stress can trigger inflammation in your body. Here's one of the second pillars that we need to talk about. We just talked about exercise. Now we're going to talk about sleep. Poor sleep increases the chances of you having inflammation. Absolutely. You should be aiming for 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep. 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep. So when people say, I'm good on 4 hours, you may think you're good on 4 hours, but your body has not gone through the process that it needs to go through to reduce the point of you having inflammation the next morning. Why you think sleep is so important? Because your body has to go through a process. It can't go through that process in 4 hours. You're trying to speed that up, and 4 hours is not going to do it. That's why your body needs that time to recover. That's why sleep is so important. So if you get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night, you are reducing the risk of having inflammation in your body. Okay, so create a bedtime, create a routine, avoid, getting on your phone or your computer late at night, get your room comfortable, whether it's cool or and dark. Make sure that it's comfortable so that you can get to some good quality sleep. Okay, 7 to 8 hours. Okay, here we go. Got one more for you. Hydration. Told you cannot get away from these 4 pillars. You can't do it. You will never be able to do it. The 4 pillars is what keeps us healthy. Hydration. Water helps flush out the toxins that contribute to inflammation. So when people that are on medication and it leaves a residue of the toxins that's in their body, they have to drink extra water. It's mandatory because you want to flush out the toxins in your body. If you drink half your body weight in ounces daily, you will be removing a lot of the toxins that's in your body. Okay, so you do have to flush out the toxins that contribute to inflammation. That's why hydration is so important. That's why it's so important. Okay, avoid your smoking and limit your alcohol. Okay, because both of these are proven to increase inflammation in your body. Okay, reducing and eliminating these things can have immediate benefit. Okay, here's another thing: your gut health. A healthy gut reduces inflammation because our gut is our brain to our immune system. Okay, so a healthy gut reduces inflammation in our body. Okay, include a probiotic-rich food diet. Like include yogurt in your diet. Even probiotics like onions and garlic, bananas that are good bacteria for our bodies. We need those things. So make sure that you pay attention to your gut health because it's important for inflammation as well. See, these are the things that we don't know. These are the things that we need to keep an eye on so that we can be able to identify what we're eating, if we are hydrated enough, so that we can identify what's causing the inflammation in our bodies. Okay, minimize environmental toxins. Okay, choose non-toxic cleaning products. Avoid plastic and food storage things if you can. Okay, but definitely reduce the toxins that you are inhaling through your cleaning supplies. Okay, I have a toxic-free cleaning regimen. I do not have any toxins in my cleaning supplies. None. They're all from nature. Everything to do with nature, that is what I clean with. There's no toxins whatsoever, whether it's laundry, cleaning, the soap I use, the lotion I use, all those things are toxic-free. And if you want more information on that, it will be, if you click on the link, you will see information with the products that I use. I'll be happy to introduce you to them because you do want to minimize your toxic environment. It's very important because those things cause inflammation. I go to the gym with this lady and she has lupus. And I can always tell when she cleans her house. I can always tell. And I remember the first time when she came in, she was real sluggish, moving real slow. She had a little swelling going on. And I asked her a simple question. I'm like, did you clean your house this weekend? And she looked at me. She's like, how do you know that? And I says, because of your pattern. I was kind of paying attention to how she moves when she comes to the gym. The weeks that she don't clean her house with the toxic cleansers, she moves really good. Her whole attitude is different. Everything is different about her. But I can also tell when she's using those products. So when I disclosed to her how those toxins are allowing her lupus to flare up, if you will, which is causing inflammation in her body, I was able to help her to understand that this is the culprit. This is what's causing your problem. why every other week you don't feel well. Okay, so once we started on a regimen of her getting rid of all those toxins, now she can go every week of feeling well, because now she doesn't have to worry about it. Now you also, let's address the underlying conditions too. Okay, the conditions like diabetes, obesity, autoimmune disorders, those things need to be properly managed to keep the inflammation in check. Okay, you know, your diabetes and being obese and your disorder, we have to make sure that we're keeping those in check, because once you have identified that this is what's causing the problem, then you're able to go and do what you need to do to make sure that you are handling that properly. Okay, here's another thing that I want to talk about is a daily routine, a daily anti-inflammatory routine that's going to be designed to optimize healing and reducing inflammation that will boost your overall well-being. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to give you a daily anti-inflammatory routine that is designed to optimize healing and reducing inflammation, and that is going to boost your overall well-being. So let's start with a morning routine. Okay, you might have to listen to this a couple times to get this, but let's start with the morning routine. Start with a warm glass of lemon water to flush out the toxins from the night before. Okay, start there. First thing in the morning, wake up and hydrate yourself with the start of a warm glass of lemon water to flush out the toxins before you get started on your day. Let that be the first thing that you do. Okay, now let's go to an anti-inflammatory breakfast. Okay, oats with berries, chia seeds, a handful of nuts, walnuts or almond. Okay, maybe you want a smoothie, you know, with spinach and berries and flaxseed and unsweetened almond milk. Okay, get some movement in, stretching or some type of, you know, physical activity, whether it's walking, just to kind of wake your body up. Just 10 to 15 minutes. It don't have to be, you know, a 30-minute walk, but if you choose to do a 30-minute walk, that's cool. But definitely some light stretching, or maybe some yoga that reduces your stiffness, because, you know, once you hit that 50 mark and you get past 50, sometimes you wake up a little stiff. And I go to the gym every day, and sometimes I do, you know, like today was not my gym day. So tomorrow morning, if I'm not stretching and getting some type of physical activity in during the day today, I will feel a little stiff. So yes, get some stretching in the mornings when you wake up. Okay. Mindful practice. Okay, this is really important. Take 5 minutes to do some deep breathing, some praying, some meditation to reduce your cortisol level. Okay, so now let's go to the midday. Hydration. Remember to hydrate. Drink water consistently throughout the day. You know, aim for, you know, a few liters, 2 to 3 liters a day, half of your body weight in ounces. Okay, that's always a good measuring stick. Okay, now let's go to an anti-inflammatory lunch. Okay, a mixed salad with leafy greens, and maybe avocado slices, grilled salmon, or chickpeas with olive oil. Okay, add some turmeric, some ginger, black pepper for extra benefit, because black pepper does have a lot of benefits. I'm not a pepper fan, but hey, get your pepper on. Okay, light activity. Take 10-minute walk after eating, you know, to aid your digestion and to lower your blood sugar. Okay, you know, you don't have to do a 30-minute walk, but just a little something to help your food to digest better. Okay, now let's look at the afternoon routine. Okay, let's look at the smart snacks. That's what I like to call them. A handful of mixed nuts, an apple, maybe some almond butter, carrot sticks, you know, or some celery, things of that nature. Okay, make sure that you are taking a stress management break. Okay, 5 minutes of praying, 5 minutes of deep breathing, 5 minutes of meditating. Take a quick break to break up your day. You got to have that in there, okay? Because it's important, because things pile up. You know, you have this compound effect. So the next thing you know, instead of having one thing to deal with, now you got 10. So yes, take a stress management break throughout the day. Let's talk about the evening routine, okay? An anti-inflammatory dinner, okay? Steamed vegetables are always a good go-to, okay? Brown rice, lean protein, like chicken, fish, or lentils, okay? Include an anti-inflammatory spice like turmeric or garlic, okay? Let's talk about your wind down activities. It's really important. For me, I usually try to take at least a good 30 to 45 minutes before it's my bedtime to get rid of the thoughts of the day, to unwind my brain, to, shut things off, to put it in each department that it belongs in. So when I wake up tomorrow morning, I can get started on my day, but not carry that in the bed with me and have sitting there or laying there thinking about it most of the night. So your wind down activity is going to be important. Get some light stretching in, maybe some reading in. I usually like to do some research, so that's my reading time. Or journal. Some people like to journal, so yes, get your journal on if that's what you like to do. But avoid your screen time an hour before bedtime, because all it does something to your body. So leave the phone, leave the laptop, leave the tablet, put that to the side, and an hour before bedtime. Herbal tea is another good thing. Of course, chamomile tea is always good. Ginger or turmeric tea to help relax and support your digestive system, okay? I highly recommend that you prioritize your sleep, that you aim for 7 to 8 hours uninterrupted. Now, I know that once you get past 50, you'll probably be up and down to the bathroom at least maybe once or twice during the middle of the night. I highly recommend to stop drinking like after 7 p.m. if possible, so that way you won't spend, most of your night interrupting your sleep by going to the bathroom, because you want quality sleep. Okay, you want 7 to 8 hours of good quality sleep, uninterrupted sleep. Okay, so however you like to sleep. For me, I have my shade. That's what I call them. I have my eye shades. So I don't see. It has to be dark. I like it dark, so that way I can, sleep more comfortable. I don't have to worry about the blinds being cold or being completely all the way dark in the room. I put my eye shades on. I like it nice and cool, even in the wintertime. I don't like a cold house in the wintertime, but I do like it cool. Even in the summertime, I like it cool when I'm sleeping. Now, I'm not a fan of air conditioner, but I do like it cool when I'm sleeping, because it helps me to rest better, And so those are the things that will help us to to sleep better. Again, 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep. Okay, I hope that this information has been beneficial to you. That's what I have for you today in this episode, and I hope that it's added some value to your life. If it has, please share it with someone that it may be a benefit to as well. And also subscribe to my channel, iHeart, Apple, YouTube. I'm all over the place. So yeah, subscribe to my channel, so that way anytime I drop a new episode, you will receive the alert that I've just dropped a new episode. But before I get out of here, I have to always thank those listeners around the world, and I'm very thankful for you, because I know if it was not for you, this would not even matter. But it does matter to me that you are listening. So I want to give a shout out to all my fans here in the United States, Canada, Australia, Russia Federation, China, Mexico, Belgium, Ireland, South Africa, Brazil, Nigeria, United Kingdom, Germany, France, Bangladesh, Ukraine, Kuwait, India, Hong Kong, Dominican Republic, the Philippines, Barbados, Saudi Arabia, Spain, Japan, the Netherlands, and we just picked up Pakistan and Indonesia. I appreciate everyone for listening. Thank you for joining me here on Thriving After 50, Mind, Body, Soul. This is Master Coach G, and I will see you on the next level.